Well, as the city prepares to choose the next chief of police, CBC is speaking with Winnipeggers from all different areas about what they're looking for in the next leader of the service. Tonight, we begin by hearing from MMIWG advocate and former Grand Chief of MKO, Sheila North. She sat down with Information Radio's Marcy Markusa to talk about what is needed to restore the relationship between police and Indigenous people. Here are her thoughts about what she believes are necessary qualities the new chief needs to have.
They at least need to be a person of color, and preferably for me and a lot of other people, an Indigenous person. A true Indigenous person who didn't just discover they were Indigenous yesterday, but someone who grew up in the community and understands the trauma and the history of Indigenous people and how Canada came to be what it is. So I think that someone needs to have at least that basic quality, if not an Indigenous person, but someone that understands and grew up knowing what it's like to be a minority.
Why is that critical at this point in Winnipeg? And also when you think about the relationships that have deteriorated, because we've heard a lot about that part of this is going to be about rebuilding trust. We have to go somewhere positive. But why to you is that critical right now?
Because I think the relationship with Indigenous people, especially in this city, which has been tagged the most racist sometimes in the last decade even, needs to repair that relationship the most, I think. I think it's the most damaged, and it's not a surprise when we look at the history of everything and we look at how we all learn together as a society of what Indigenous people are and who we are and what we're not and what we've been subjected to. So I think that it's critical.
How would you describe the relationship that you have had over the past years with Winnipeg Police, Sheila?
Oh gosh, I would say it's up and down, highs and lows for sure. I've had personal family members and really personal interactions with police that have been both really positive but also extremely negative and very hurtful. And either professionally and personally, I've had both interactions, so it hasn't been consistent.
What power do you think that the chief has to affect change in the overall service? What's the importance to you of whoever this leader will be?
Is very, very huge because they set the tone. Anyone in power, any at the head of organization, ultimately sets the tone of the organization and the culture. So they need to have a strong sense of intolerance against racism and bigotry and dismissiveness of people that are, in the marginalized groups, and also, of course, everyone else that needs respect when they are in time of need, when they need Winnipeg Police. But I think that they definitely have to have that ability to be brave, bold, and boisterous about standing up against anything that feels like there is a tone of racism in it.
Obviously, April 2020 was a critical point in our community when 3 Indigenous people were killed by police in separate incidents within a span of 10 days. But as you said, and you were talking about your own personal interactions and family members, you said you've had both positive and negative interactions with police over the years. What to you will rebuild trust, both at that personal level for people who say I've had good and negative interaction, but also on that more macro level when we've had such serious things happen in our community?
When we see open and clear public dialogue that in the larger part, in the greater part of Winnipeg Police, that they show publicly that they are making attempts to learn and to grow and to be good citizens and to be good neighbors to everyone. I know a few. I don't know many cops personally, but I know the ones that I do know are very integral, kind, and strong people. But overall, I think that we need to see an effort that Winnipeg Police are truly towards a path of reconciliation, not only to just themselves, not only to Indigenous people, but to themselves as well, because they also are on a journey to reverse this negative relationship that they've they seem to have foster as a group.
What kind of commitment would you like to see from the new chief to addressing the ongoing problems with missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls and Two-Spirit people?
A real commitment to be inclusive and to be mindful and kind to all people and Indigenous people. I think I had a lot of hope in our outgoing police chief. We had a really good relationship, I think. Many of us did. I think he listened for a long time, but it was extremely hurtful to see almost a reversal when the landfill issue came up, and the women in the landfill especially, it felt like I was being gaslit, and that's not a good feeling. So there is a lot of repair that needs to be done. So someone that will be brave and bold enough to say that things need to change, and they will change.